Dear readers, this is The Hopeful Romantic. Thank you for tuning in to my channel today. I have something exciting going on. I have an interview with Sally Dowling. We're going to talk about my book, The Day the Train Stopped. So please like and share, and I look forward to giving you this interview.
Stephanie, I was always wondering, why did you write the book, The Day the Train Stopped?
Oh, I wrote the book the day the train stopped because it's a metaphor for the main character's life. And I got the idea one day. I was traveling in Southern Virginia. I went through this really small rural town that at one time was really productive, but now it was just run down, broken glass on the sidewalk, broken windows. I had a train station. And as I walked through the town, I just stood in the middle of somewhere on train tracks going nowhere. And I got the idea that, this is what a depressive event feels like. And so I wanted to make a main character suffer from depression. And that's why I came up with the book, The Day the Train Stopped.
So your writing is very descriptive. I was wondering if you could put in your words how you would characterize a depressive event.
Well, I thought about that, and anybody who has lived in the South has experienced the suddenness of a summer storm. I remember growing up, we would see these black clouds off in the distance. We'd be in the pool, is it going to come? Isn't it going to come? And all of a sudden there'd be like a flash of lightning, and it's like, everybody out of the pool, get out of here. So a depressive event sometimes feels like that. It's like this black shroud that clouds your mind, and all of a sudden it just, boom, comes on quickly. Or other times it can feel like shades of gray, like the month of March, day after day after day of nothing but gray days. So in my experience, that's what depression feels like.
Well, certainly mental health is something that we're hearing a lot more about and is becoming a very important topic and out in the open. I believe that's because there's so many people suffering from it.
There are. Actually, there's about approximately, give or take, probably more nowadays, 17.3 million American adults suffer from depression, with women being twice as likely to have these events than men.
And of course, with women, there's some very unique reasons for that.
Yes, there are. People don't think about it, but I would say postpartum depression is probably one of the main reasons why women could be suffering more. And you're on such a wonderful high when you have this baby, then you deliver this baby, hormones are going crazy, trying to rebalance, and sometimes it can present as transient blues. And usually these go away, but sometimes it escalates into a more major event. And when that happens, that could be the reason why women stay depressed, because they were undiagnosed to begin with.
And sometimes I've heard that dark cloud gets so dark that people think, it's not really worth living anymore. So that's not something that you talk about in the book, of course.
No, suicides I don't talk about that, but it's important to note that of the 30,000 reported suicides annually in the United States, 2/3 of those can be attributed to depression.
Wow.
So it's pretty significant.
Of course, there are a lot of treatments for depression. Can you summarize what you found are the most important ones?
The first course of action is usually medications. So you have medications to get you balanced out, psychotherapy, support groups, or any combination of those three modalities. But I did look up some research, and I found that nobody mentions spirituality or prayer as a means of coping with depression. And although the book, The Day the Train Stopped, is not a religious book, I do talk about the need for prayer and faith as a means of healing from depression. It's not everything, but it's a good place to start.
Good point. And of course, also there's more holistic approaches these days that fit in very well with the clinical.
Yes, very much so. Diet is key. The more people eat fish, omega-3s, like a good quality fish, that can be helpful. That's something Amelia does, the main character in my book. She does eat a lot of fish, and she helps her sister on the farm. So she's out in the sunshine quite a bit, and she gets vitamin D from the sunshine. And as she starts to heal, she goes into this little community and starts to find new meaning and purpose in her life.
So clearly there's two main characters who are sisters. Can you tell us a little more about the other characters in the book?
Yes, I can. As you mentioned, the two main sisters, Amelia and Mabel Taylor Harris, they live on a 100-year-old farm, and Amelia goes back to the farm after her marriage has fallen apart. She's depressed, and her sister just begs her to come back home, come back home. So throughout her healing process, she meets Tom Wyndham, and there's Carl Wickham, who runs the mercantile store. I don't want to tell you too much about him because his story is very interesting. They all have, interesting stories to tell. And Johnny Baker. Johnny's probably one of my favorite characters. He's a 4 or 5-year-old, leave it up to the reader to decide, but that's a really treasure age for me. These little kids who, they're just a font of excitement and joy, and he brings his own colorful, interesting character to the story as well.
So can you sum up the purpose of the book?
The purpose of the book is to give people hope. And even though this community seems to be run down, the people in the community offer hope in spite of their seemingly brokenness. And that was the reason for the book. I always want to give hope. Even in the darkest clouds, there's always hope. There's a rainbow.
So I'm really looking forward to your next book. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, I just finished my third book. It's a true novel. It's over 220 pages. And the title of the book is The Choices We Make. And it tells the tale of 3 generations of women in the Harper Smith family. And what's interesting about them is that their lives cross barriers of love and love that promises to last forever. But throughout their lives, one common denominator binds them together, and that is that love comes at a cost through the choices that they've made. And I'm anticipating its release in late 2022 or early 2023. So that's
Great.
exciting.
Looking forward to that.
Great.
Thank you so much.